I've been wanting to talk about morality or the religious aspect of morality for quite a while. Frank Turek likes to discuss all kinds of religious subjects and morality. For those of you who do not know who Frank Turek is, Frank is a religious speaker, author, and TV host, and you can find a lot of his videos on YouTube. Some of his videos are about morality and how atheism can't justify morality. What Frank doesn't seem to realize is that objective morality, the way he talks about it, does not exist. If you just look at the definitions of morality, morality is just a differentiation between good and evil, right and wrong. Objective means based upon measurable facts, and subjective means based upon feelings. Now, Frank has explained that knowing right from wrong has always been within us since the beginning of time. So apparently it's what we inherited from God, or from eating the forbidden fruit, perhaps. According to Frank, an atheist told him that, according to atheists, morality comes from Darwinism, which is a weird way of explaining it, but I can see some truth in that. Frank also likes to quote former atheist C.S. Lewis, who said, "My argument against God was that the universe seemed to be so cruel and unjust, but how had I got this idea of just and unjust? A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. What was I comparing this universe with when I called it unjust?" Well, C.S. Lewis is wrong here. A crooked line and a straight line are basically two different shapes, so they have a different name. It doesn't matter what name you give it, you can just see it's different, so you call it something different to each other. Same goes for the directions left, right, up, down, or right and wrong in morality. It's a human construct. It has nothing to do with God. Another thing with objective morality is if it comes from God, it cannot be objective. God shows a lot of signs of acting on emotion. He loves, he hates, he's envious, he's angry, name it. There are examples enough in which God shows signs of emotion. So if it's based upon his feelings, it's subjective, not objective. If we go back to human morality, and you would take evolution as basis, then yes, you could say morality comes from Darwinism. Humans are a social animal, like wolves, lions, primates, and all kinds of other animals. In a social group, there's an alpha male who dictates everyday behavior in the group, where to go, where and when to hunt, what to eat, who is on the lookout for danger, etc., etc. Now, humans have a cognitive ability which allows for constructions like democracy, in which the government acts like the alpha male. Now, from our animal background, we have a good sense of what is good for us as an individual animal, and we have a good sense of working with other animals in our same social group to thrive and survive. This is what we pass on to every new generation. We teach ourselves and our children what is good for us to live a safe and healthy life, what we need for our own well-being, and this is where our subjective morality comes from. It is what we feel is good for us to lead a good and healthy life, and this is an egotistical survival of the fittest thing, and it has nothing to do with any divine being. When the individuals compare their own personal subjective morals to those of the other individuals, and they agree upon what they think or feel is good or bad, then you get a collective subjective moral. It's still based upon feelings, but not from individuals, but from all the individuals from one group. When the group decides what they think is moral and write it down, you get a collective objective moral code. or a law. And these objective moral codes are the laws we see in every country. You can objectively compare the actions of individuals and groups against this objective moral code and determine if the objective moral code was violated. This moral code is dynamic. The individuals adhere to the collective dynamic moral code. Through our politics in a democracy, we have our representatives make new laws and objective moral codes. As groups change, their collective subjective morals change. As those change, the objective moral code can be changed, which we see happening when governments change. Banning slavery, allowing abortion, or allowing same-sex marriage is a change in a dynamic moral code. So this dynamic moral code has nothing to do with any God. When you would summarize it, you would say basically that what you know is good for your well-being to survive and thrive in your life, in your social group, that is where your subjective moral comes from. What do you think is good for you or bad for you as an individual? Now you can agree with others on their subjective morale. What is good for them might also be good for you. So if you agree with the others, you could say you have a collective subjective moral. And when you write it down, so you can actually compare the actions of groups and individuals to your agreed upon objective moral code to decide if those actions are good or bad. Then you have a real objective moral code. But objective morality on its own does not exist. It's an illogical construct as it cannot be from God, as God acts upon his emotions, his feelings. So that alone is already enough to say objective morality does not exist. Frank Turek thinks otherwise, and I'm saying Frank Turek is wrong. But then again, anything might be up for debate about morality and religion. So if you have any comments on these thoughts of mine, just let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a good day.